and welcome to the first breakout session for the 2024 Databricks Data and AI Summit. This is Kwik Trip's Databricks Data-Driven Operational Insights. I am Logan Carlson. I'm a data engineer with Kwik Trip. I've been with the company for about the last 18 months, where I've been working primarily in the Databricks platform with Sid, our solutions architect.
Oh, I didn't know you can actually see what I speak. Well, anyways, I'm Siddesh Pore. I'm solution architect with Databricks. I joined almost 2 years back, and it's good to see everybody here. First thing, good morning, SFO. Anybody out of SFO here? Anybody from Midwest? Oh, cool. Then everybody know what is Kwik Trip and who likes their fried chicken. Great. So we will not talk about fried chicken a lot, but we will talk about what we do in the backend. But overall at the agenda, we will talk about what is Kwik Trip. So people who doesn't know how great the fried chicken of Kwik Trip is, we can tell them how it is. Then we can talk about Kwik Trip journey into data realm. We will talk about use cases because that is important for every customers. Then we will show you the architecture, not in much detail, but overall to show you how we have built Databricks platform with Kwik Trip. And lastly, some learning and future roadmap. Now, going to the next slide, who is Kwik Trip? So people who are not from Midwest, so Kwik Trip is a convenience store and a fuel pump station where it is located across 6 different states, right? And I really love their fried chicken, but apart from that, I have a quick story to talk about, right? So I was traveling with my wife and my kids in Wisconsin, and I was new here back in like 2015 or 2016, and I was very hungry, and I said, okay, is there a way I can get some good food in a convenience store or fuel pump station? And that is where I ended up going to the Kwik Trip. So, but going back to the actual presentation, Kwik Trip is very well known, and it's been awarded as USA Today's Reader's Choice Awards consecutively for 5 years. Now, having a man around me who is from Kwik Trip, I don't waste a lot of time talking about Kwik Trip and let him talk more about it.
Yeah, so at Kwik Trip, we're known for providing more than your typical convenience store food. We do this by producing a significant portion of our own products that we sell in the stores, from bakery and dairy products to prepared foods such as take-home meals. And we're also known, so this focus on in-house production allows us to provide our guests with the freshest food possible daily. And so up on the screen, I've got an abbreviated history of Kwik Trip with a focus mainly on the last 20 years in our fresh food offerings. I wanted to focus on this period because growing up in the late 1990s, my grandfather had owned a couple of convenience stores that had competed with Kwik Trip. And I remember him going to a trade convention, much like this one, and then coming back with my father and hearing him tell what the future of convenience stores looked like. There's really a big drive, a push to deliver and offer fresh produce and food in the convenience stores. And when I look at Kwik Trip's history, I see that vision that he had talked about over the last 20 years. And it's been really remarkable to see, growing up in Wisconsin, how Kwik Trip has evolved to meet the needs of our guests.
Oh, that's an amazing story, Logan. We are here to talk about data. So let's try to understand what is Kwik Trip's philosophy for your data.
Yeah, so I'm a member of the data services team at Kwik Trip. This was a new team that was established about 2 years ago, and we're essentially a startup within our own IT organization. So we're a newly minted team of data analysts and engineers that were brought from various corners of the company under one umbrella. And we had a two-pronged mission. We needed to keep all of the legacy data warehouses, integrations, and reporting that kept the business's lights on. And when I say that there's a lot of integrations, I really mean that. We haven't mapped it all out, but if If you're familiar with the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, where Charlie's trying to like locate Pepe Silva, there's a lot of integrations that go on to just keep the daily reporting going. But we also needed to upskill and invest in our team members and adopt modern data platforms like Databricks into our tech stack so we could really drive home the data innovation and transformation within the company that we are hoping to achieve. And so we took a two-pronged approach towards adopting Databricks. The first approach was we needed to build trust and credibility within our own IT organization. We needed to demonstrate to the rest of our IT organization that as a data services team, that's kind of an ambiguous title. What are our capabilities? What are our responsibilities? We really needed to demonstrate that we were more than just a team that was pushing out reports and publishing dashboards. We were able to do a whole lot more than that. And the second thing that we needed to do was we needed to build trust within our business units. And so we collaborated with our business stakeholders to really identify what their challenges were and what they were hoping to achieve. Some of the business groups that I work with, they didn't have a strong trust within IT, where their view of IT was just a group of individuals that broke things that had previously worked. And so we needed to demonstrate that we're capable of meeting their requirements and going beyond just what they had traditionally had received. And so with that, I will pass that back to Sid, and we'll talk about why we are going with streaming and ML.
Yeah, cool. You can go to the next slide. So I don't know if anybody over here had any experience working with streaming and machine learning. But if not, I'll just go over quickly to explain in one line, okay, what is streaming. So imagine that you are a convenience store and if you are selling some food, and if you want to know how much food is already being sold, right? So that is where you need to know accurate information for every hour. Now, when you have all those details, you want to predict how much food you will be selling in future. You want to predict that, and that is where you will end up using machine learning. The reason for that is because then you will help to save the wastages, right? You don't want to store or allocate a lot of food to different stores. Now, taking you back to what I was talking about Kwik Trip, there are 850 stores located across 6 different states. Now, I cannot ask Logan to go to each store and figure out how many burgers were sold, right? So that's why we are doing streaming here. So streaming helps them to identify or quickly access the data from the fuel pump, find out how much data or how many food has been sold. So once you get all those streaming data, they can quickly build a dashboard which can be used by not just analysts and business team, but also that data can be pushed back to machine learning team, and then data scientists can use that data to run the prediction. And that is where prediction comes in the picture, where you predict the usage, you forecast the supply. And the good part about using this is that you don't have to be dependent on the traditional way of calculating the forecast, where you do rolling up average or weekly average and figure out, okay, I sold 50 burger in last week, I'll probably sold 60 next week, and then you realize, oh, it's a Thanksgiving Day, and I ended up selling around 150 burgers, right? So those kind of things will really help you to predict. Now, when you put all those things with Databricks, with MLflow, you can manage entire life cycle. So you don't have to really buy in any enterprise scale algorithm. You can simply start with, we will come into next slide, but we can start with open source machine learning algorithms, and then you can quickly put on your Databricks platform. Now, when I was talking about data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, and business user, you can collaborate everybody together. And that has really helped Kwik Trip to collaborate with their other team members, get more insight on their data, and make business understand what is the impact they are providing by building those solutions. Now, this is high level, but let's talk in detail about some of the major use cases, right? Logan, do you want to talk about some of the major use cases around streaming and ML?
Sure. So yeah, our first major use case came when our internal software development teams had developed applications to track daily store checklists across all of our 850 locations, as well as all of our IoT devices deployed across the companies. The major challenges that came from these were the application databases were using a NoSQL-like data store, and then they were also maintaining a traditional relational database that was used mainly for just reporting and analytics. And so the software teams had to maintain the two databases and keep them in sync, so they were maintaining their own data pipelines. This was proved challenging from not only an operational standpoint, but it was also costly. And it took away from the software team's main focus of developing the applications themselves. And so the data services team was first tasked with offloading the reporting and data pipelines from those teams and integrating all of that data within a unified data platform and Unity catalog. And so we streamlined the data pipelines and reporting process using a medallion architecture, and that improved the data reliability and reduced the operational cost and complexity. So we were able to offload all of the responsibilities from the software teams and take that on ourselves and become the single source of truth for what data was within Kwik Trip for these applications. The second major use case came when our store engineering team was looking to integrate real-time streaming data from all of our fuel pumps across the company and ingest real-time alerts into one of those applications. And so our software engineering teams didn't really have a good way of connecting to the endpoint that our vendor had made available in their AWS through a Kinesis streaming data point. And so we needed to find a way to ingest all of that data into our Azure environment. And so Spark Structured Streaming allowed us to connect to the AWS endpoint and ingest all of those messages. We were able to use Databricks to save all of that data within Unity Catalog, and then passed along those alerts messages to the application team. We're currently working with our stakeholders to identify machine learning use cases, as some of those I would say the majority of those messages involve transaction data from the fuel pumps. So we know exactly how many gallons of fuel were pumped, the moment that the pump goes back into the receptacle, including the number of gallons per minute. Our store engineering team currently faces a challenge where as fuel pumps, the filters will degrade over time, and so our customers will be delayed when they're pumping fuel because the pumps no longer operate at peak efficiency. And so we're exploring predictive maintenance, machine learning use cases where we can generate automated work orders for our technicians to go out to our priority pumps and make sure that our guests are not unnecessarily delayed in their journeys. And so we're able to achieve all of that using a scalable data architecture, which Sid will walk us through.
Sure. Yeah. So it looks simple, but we tried to show it in a simple fashion and tried not to add too many components, so it may not look complex. But overall, if you look at Kwik Trip, there are streaming data sources coming from Kinesis and Event Hubs, which goes into the Azure. So Kwik Trip is right now on Azure Cloud, and where they push all their raw data. Now, there is another source from which you get raw data is master data management source, where you have IDF connection, which will help you to push all your data to ADLS. Now, when you When you talk about streaming and event hub data coming into your ADLS, it happens every minute, right? So that way you can get latest information. And streaming is totally opposite of how you do batch processing, where you can start reading small amount of data every minute, and then you can do the updates and put it into your data sources. Now, this is what helping Kwik Trip for their fuel pump streaming use case, where they can push everything into Databricks. Now, when you look at the medallion architecture, which is part of Databricks, the all other data coming from various applications like Cosmos DB, or in fact the POS data coming from your stores, goes directly into Databricks. There is no raw layer architecture. We store all the raw data as a bronze layer of medallion architecture onto Databricks, no matter if it is coming from AS400 or any workforce data. So once you have all those data, there will be a DLT jobs which will be processing all your data. So DLT are kind of ETL, which are data live tables for Databricks, which will process all data, curate that data, cleans up, remove all unnecessary information or error data, and move it back to business aggregate. So the use of business aggregate is that you can create views or materialize view, whatever you need for your reporting purposes. Now, once you have all those data, we put all that data on Databricks serverless SQL. The benefit of putting everything on serverless is that you have total cost saving, where you don't have to worry about allocating a compute to your resources, right? So when we started working with Kwik Trip, we did not have Databricks SQL serverless available in their region. But I think last year, sometime in October, November timeframe, we started using, and we haven't seen any challenges with the performance. So this is something helping Kwik Trip. Now, if you look at, everything is governed by your Unity catalog, so which makes life easier for all the data engineer, data scientists, and also the admin people to manage everything via one single account console. So you don't have to worry about, which workspace I should provide, give access to what person, right? So that takes away that complexity. Now, once that data is available on SQL, you can easily connect with Power BI. And that is what Kwik Trip is doing. You can directly connect to Power BI, build whatever report you want to build, and make it available for business. Now, when you have all those DLT jobs or any other jobs connecting with, loading all your data, Kwik Trip uses jobs and workflows to put everything into jobs and workflows of Databricks. So the advantage of those is that you can also take benefit of serverless allocation for your workflows and jobs. So once you have all those data available, many people here who might be having background of DevOps or MLOps, they might have a question. What are they doing for DevOps? For right now, whatever code is being written, it gets pushed into CI/CD, Bitbucket. So once data is available on your Git, it will be stored safely over there. Now, another thing is that if you look at the larger enterprise, right, you might have more than one environment where you want to orchestrate, right? And that is what Kwik Trip is using. They are using Apache Airflow to orchestrate all the events happening on Databricks. So keeping architecture simple and not adding too many components help Kwik Trip to get things moving faster, right? Help them to go to market faster. Now, when Kwik Trip is connecting to on-premise data warehouses or any other data warehouses like PostgreSQL, they don't really write any new code. What we tried is, we tried to do a lakehouse federation where we create a separate catalog for external data sources and simply connect those and try fetching that data. That way you are not worried about, building any ETL pipeline, right? Or writing any Python code. Just connect to the catalog, get the data in bronze, and if you want to integrate or aggregate with your business layer, you can simply do that. And on top of that, as data lies within Databricks, you can use MLflow, right? So where you can manage the machine learning lifecycle, you can build your code and you can move your code from dev to UAT to production, wherever you want to do. So this is great, but then I really like to ask one question to Logan here and ask him about is how it is helping to improve their development experience so that people who want to understand how it is helping engineers and scientists those can get some ideas.
Yeah, working within the Databricks platform as an engineering team, whenever our business stakeholders come to us with a project that they want us to work on, when we're talking about which one of our tools that we could use, I don't think there's been a meeting that I've been a part of where someone hasn't said, we could do that with Databricks. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's the tool that we end up using because it's just so simple to stand up a new data pipeline. Couple lines of code. Everything's connected through Lakehouse Federation, and with DLT pipelines, you have a new pipeline in almost an instant. So working within the platform, and it's been a simple treat to with CI/CD incorporated with that, like you mentioned, Apache Airflow. We're using Terraform to deploy from our dev to QA to production environments. Everything's just a button click away, and so we don't have to set up any new resources. We don't have to mess with any new Azure functions or anything. It's just everything just kind of works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing insight, because if the developers are happy and they can implement things faster and quicker with simple architecture, you can go to market faster, right? But then, before we get into what is in future, I wanted to ask Logan, okay, what are your learnings from whatever you have implemented so far with Databricks? So that way we can gaze into past and understand, oh, what mistakes we made, okay, this is somewhere we should have improved.
Yeah, so we're a small team. Prior to the conference, I think there was 12 total engineers and analysts across the team. And I was speaking with my boss yesterday, and he was talking about the number of projects that we are working on. And so I think right now there's 25 different projects that our team is involved with. And so when we're trying to keep all of the enterprise reporting and all of those data trains going, we can't get lost in the weeds of how things should be. I think as technologists, we typically like to think of what the perfect solution would be. And so you can't get lost in how things should be. You just focus on delivering a proof of concept, getting that working, and then making those small iterative developments and embracing those agile methodologies. And so as a small team, we try to aim small so that when we miss small. If we devoted all of the resources of our entire team to a large project and that project ends up failing, we're going to lose credibility within our organization, and no one's going to trust us. And so we needed to start small with those incremental gains, and then leverage what we learned to drive our larger long-term projects and vision.
No, that's great. So now let's get into time machine and go into future and try to understand what is there in future for Kwik Trip.
Yeah, so I think as companies struggle implementing machine learning solutions in a number of different ways. Off-the-shelf solutions often lack transparency. I think when you're working with proprietary models, even open source models, when it's hard to know how models arrive at their predictions and how decisions are being made. And so if you don't know what the underlying model that you're working with, it's hard to convey that to your business users to understand, will this solution meet the requirements that they for their problems. And so at Kwik Trip, we're embracing building our own machine learning solutions using open source technologies. And so this is going to allow us the flexibility to customize these solutions to meet the distinct internal requirements that our business has. And so, And so those open source solutions allow us for the flexibility to meet those needs.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with whatever Logan has mentioned here. So when I was showing you architecture and I was talking about ML flow and building ML ops, so Databricks does support not just machine learning, but all your large language models. So you can actually build LLM ops, and that way you can use same platform and same architecture to get added all your Gen AI use cases. And frankly, Logan and we meet every 15 days, every month, and we talk about what is the roadmap, and that is why we ended up concluding that, okay, building something which will help us to be relevant in the future, that makes sense to be used, right? And that is what, if you have any open source or enterprise solution or any algorithm you can use. In fact, we are using Profit right now as one of the algorithm which is open source on Databricks platform to do the forecasting. And we were able to get to the right data, right? And I really like the way the Kwik Trip works is that when they start with, let's say, small number of use test cases and small number of store, and then they grow further. Now, that gets us to the conclusion here. And few things I want to highlight. When you're starting with a solution, and if you know in today's day there's so many things are happening, there are so many risks around security, and there are too many moving pieces. So try to implement a solution which is governed by a common governing solution, just like how Logan and his team does, right? So giving you example of Lakehouse Federation, when we was speaking about, okay, Lakehouse Federation is in market, how should we do it? And then Logan and his team said, okay, let's put this in a sprint where we can do a quick POC, figure out how we can utilize in our platform. We did a quick POC, and once we liked the solution, we started the implementation. And that is what we were able to do. Now, when you have opportunity to use serverless, definitely do your security scan, make sure everything is in alignment with your security team. But if everything aligns, go with serverless, because then you're not spending a lot of time figuring out what type of compute you need to use, right? And focus on building a centralized solution for the productivity. The whole idea behind this is that whatever you make, integrate with your DevOps on MLOps, so that way when you have to move from your development to staging or production, you can do it in better way. As an example, when you build machine learning model on MLOps, you can actually build multiple versions, and you can decide, okay, which version I need to push to staging or production. And always follow the best practices from the beginning. So there are the times where you end up coming up and building something and don't follow the best practices, and you put everything in backlog. I have never seen any customer going back to backlog and started working on those, right? So it's always better idea to follow the best practices. Now, where to find those best practices? The best way for at least Databricks is go over the documentations, so that way you know how to implement those, right? So I think that concludes our session.